Hello Cheapskaters, I'm Kath Armstrong, creator of the Cheapskates Club, where our goal is to live life debt-free, cashed up and laughing. It is Tuesday the 2nd of August 2022 and this is a YouTube live event. You can join the live chat. It's really easy. You just got to log into your YouTube channel or your Gmail account. And if you have questions, please remember to put them in all capitals so they stand out. Then I'll be able to find them in the chat when I've finished leathering onto you, and I'll be able to answer them for you. If you can't join chat, feel free to leave a comment in the comments below me here. And again, I'll do my best to answer your questions after the show. If this is your first time visiting our channel, welcome. And if it's not, welcome back. So guys, just while we wait a little while, although there's still quite a few people here already, but who's been watching the Commonwealth Games? Now, I don't even particularly like sports, not that sort of organised, regimented, team sporty type thing. It does not interest me at all. I have to say I am really enjoying the snippets I'm seeing of the games. I'm starting to think the Commonwealth Games are better than the Olympics. Shock horror. But they just seem so much more personal. It's like, I guess because the Aussies are doing so well, of course, but it just seems so much nicer than the Olympics. A little more homely or something. I don't know. Let's see if we're still waiting. Let's see who's here now. I've got to go up here. Oh my. Lots of people here. Cool. All right. So, again, I'll give them just a few minutes for stragglers to arrive because people have their clocks set in different times and things happen, like you got to get a cup of tea. So, guys, if you've got a mortgage, my heart aches for you. It really does. All I can say is do what you can to pay it down. Work like crazy and throw every single cent you can at it. If it means giving up some things, do it. It's going to be worth it. And look, in the grand scheme of things, it's for such a short time in your life. Things like steak is nice, but if that money for steak can go towards your mortgage, then that's where I'd be putting it. We can eat mince, we can eat stretched mince for a little while until the mortgage is gone. Ditto for holidays and new clothes, anything that isn't absolutely necessary for survival. The figures I was seeing this afternoon were just messing with me. They were just making me feel ill. So I don't know how people with mortgages are feeling. And I know it's hard, and I know it's even harder when you have children, especially primary school age children, early teenage children, because they don't really understand, not absolutely understand, the impact this has on their family. And look, I've been there. I know how it hurts to say no to things that they ask to do or things that they want. But you just have to do it. And if you can only manage an extra $10 a week on your mortgage repayments, do it. Now just make sure it comes off the principal. You may need to speak to your lender to set it up, but you can do it. They can set it up for you, and they must help you. Now, they won't necessarily like it, so don't be discouraged and stand your ground. But just make sure if you are paying extra on your mortgage, that it comes off the principal. All right, let me see one more time if everyone's here, because we're 5 minutes into time, and it looks like, yep. Okay. So, guys, stretches. I have to tell you a funny story. I've been stretching our meals even more this week as a bit of an experiment. I didn't say anything to anyone. I just started serving smaller portions and cutting down on meat and changing the ingredients in things, making more gravy. Manu would be in heaven because it was plenty of sauce every night, lots and lots of sauce, because sauce is cheap. Anyway, last night I rejigged the meal plan and we had Kransky and barbecue sauce and potato bake. Now, mainly because while I was inventorying the freezer yesterday, I found the Kranskys and I thought, you know what, I just really want those for tea. Now, I only had 2. There's 4 of us, and 3 of the 4 are hulking great men. So I cooked those Kransky up like I always do, and I just made a bit more sauce. Excuse me, now I've got the hiccups. Sorry, guys. Now, I have to say that even to me, being, super cheap, there did not look to be all that much in the pan, even with the sauce. And then for the potato bake, well, I trimmed down the potato bake and I used the milk and flour sauce that flavoured with a little garlic powder and onion powder. It was a recipe from my trusty old school recipe book. And yeah, I still use it. I dished it all up and everyone sat down. Nobody said anything as they sat down, but the looks on their faces, I should have recorded them because it was quite comical. Honestly, half a Kransky, even sliced very, very thin, isn't much, especially when I only use half the onion in the barbecue sauce and added a bit more stock to it than I would normally use. So, we had this conversation about food shortages and empty shelves and rising prices and how, in the not too distant future, what we were eating could well be a luxury special occasion meal. Now, I had enough on my plate. I know Wayne and the boys didn't, and they all, finished off half a loaf of bread after tea with toast. But it was an interesting experiment, and it taught me a few things about what we like to eat. It's definitely taught me that we all like to eat well. I'm guessing that you all like to eat well too. And we like to eat often. I'm guessing you all like to eat often, or at least 3 times a day. And it taught me that with what's in my pantry, we can definitely do that for quite a while. Now, we've done a few big challenges in the last couple of years. Last night's experiment reinforced that for me. Sometimes we've got unexpected mouths to feed too, or even planned extra mouths to feed. Hannah might ring up and say she's coming for the weekend, or we're having visitors later this month and we're staying for a few days. So they're planned, but there's still extra mouths to feed on my grocery budget. And I need to keep to our grocery budget. I just need to. I went over this at the beginning of the year, and you can go back and look at that, listen to that video if you want to. But our grocery budget hasn't changed, and it's not going to. And that's a challenge. Now, I'm pretty sure most of us have heard the old, just add more water to the soup or toss another spud into the stew pot if you can afford spuds. They were $2.80 a kilo the other day, and they were just ordinary brushed potatoes. They weren't fancy. Those sayings will stretch a meal, and they do work to a degree. And I have to say I'm not a fan of watery soup, but if it's hot and it's got a bit of celery and a piece of carrot in it, fills a belly, doesn't it? But there are other healthier, frugal ways to stretch meals to get more serves, and they use just everyday pantry items. Absolutely just things that probably 99% of us have in our pantry all year round. Now, my favourites are rolled oats, pasta, rice, beans and lentils, TVP, and good old sad veggies. Now, on their own, all these foods are okay. You can eat them on their own. They all create nice dishes, nothing wrong with porridge. But when you add them to another dish, they can turn a very small meal or a very small recipe into something that's satisfying and big enough to feed an army or at least another mouth or two. It's really a clever way of everyone getting a little meat or chicken or fish without you having the extra cost. A serve of chicken casserole on its own is okay, but if you put that single serve over a cup of steamed rice or pasta, it becomes a hearty meal, and you can stretch it by adding extra rice. So you'll use half the casserole, 2 cups of rice, and you've got 2 serves, and 2 good serves. A piece of barbecued steak is delicious. I really like barbecued steak at the moment, but it's too expensive for us all to have steak. But if you barbecue it and then slice it really, really thin and add it to cooked rice, some capsicum, some tomatoes, zucchini, onion, that one piece of steak becomes a really hearty burrito filling. And that will easily, one piece of steak will easily feed 4 or more people when you stretch it like that. The trick is knowing what meal stretcher you can add to your basic recipes to help you get more serves from your recipes. And that's what I want to talk about tonight. Nothing fancy, nothing extravagant, nothing that requires, MasterChef skills in the kitchen, because I don't have those things. Just simple little things that we can do to stretch a meal. Now, rolled oats. This is my rolled oats tub right here. Just one of those decor things. Holds about 5 kilos, which is about what I buy it in. And we go through that in maybe 3-4 months, depending on how often we're having oats for breakfast and what else I'm putting it in. Now, rolled oats. You can use rolled oats in rissoles. You can use them in meatballs. You can add them to meatloaves. You can add them to hamburgers. You can add them to any mince dish. And it's really easy. You just add an equal quantity of rolled oats to the mince. That will double your meat component. Or you can be a little more adventurous and add rolled oats to fritters. Or you can use it to make mock chicken steaks. Or you can cook it like porridge and add it to pancake or muffin batter to stretch the batter. Another really handy item that's good on its own, but is a great meal stretcher is, where is it? Pasta. Let me find my pasta. Here we go. Pasta. It's great for, cook it up, toss an egg through it with a little cream. There you go. You have a meal. You could add some bacon or ham to it, or some chicken. Turn it into a spag bowl. We all know how to do that. But you can also use pasta in soup. Think minestrone or chicken noodle. You can use pasta in stews and casseroles. You can use pasta in rissoles, in meatballs and meatloaves, pasta in salads. There's a lot of different ways you can use pasta. Pasta makes mock fish, mock whitebait, mock fish fingers, or use macaroni. Now, to use pasta to stretch a meal, it's really simple. You just add 1 or 2 cups of pasta, depending on how much liquid's in the dish. And if you add a lot of pasta, you might need to adjust the liquid. And there you go. it will stretch that meal. Now, a really quick dinner that my kids absolutely love is, we just call it stew, and it's pretty much basically half mince, half TVP with some pasta and a tin of tomatoes, diced tomatoes, or a jar of diced tomatoes, some water to cover it so that the pasta will cook. Then I throw in whatever spices I've got, garlic, onion. If I've got celery in the fridge, the celery will go in, or zucchini, or whatever. I've even put shredded cabbage in it. Cook it down, give it a taste test, because it might need some pepper, or it might need a little salt, or it might need some basil or thyme, or whatever you feel like seasoning it with, and put it on toast. My kids love that. It takes all of, 5 minutes to throw together and maybe 10, 15 minutes to cook. And it's really easy to do. Pasta is a really good meal stretcher. Another one that features quite heavily in our meals is rice. We all like it. I especially love that it's a dump in the bowl, add water, and nuke it. That I don't need to stand and watch it. I don't need to make sure it's not going to overflow on the stove. I don't need to drain it and mash it or whatever. That's all I do to it. I love rice. I'm glad that we all like it to eat too. Now, you can use rice, of course, in soups and stews and casseroles, in meatballs. Think porcupines. You can add them to rissoles, which are just bigger meatballs, or flattened meatballs. Use them in hamburgers. I always make some coriander rice for fajitas and burritos. Always. Stretches the filling so much further. It makes great salads, but it even makes good puddings. So think creamed rice or baked rice custard. It helps stretch your meal. Now, to use rice to stretch a meal is really simple. You just add 1 cup of raw rice to your soup or your stew or your casserole and adjust the liquid, which means that you usually need to add probably 2 cups of liquid, which could be stock or water or vegetable juice or tomato juice, whatever you've got. If you add half to a cup of raw rice to meatballs and rissoles and meatloaves, you do need to add an extra egg just to bind it. And if it's, cooking in liquid, you need to adjust the liquid to allow for the rice to absorb it. But it works. You can add 1 or 2 cups of cooked rice to hamburgers and vegetable salads. Rice is very versatile. It's not just fried rice or steamed rice. Now, this brings me to, I should have a drum roll. I don't know how to do that here. My very favorite meal stretcher. And I'm sure you probably all know what it is, and that's TVP, textured vegetable protein. Now, it's a soy-based product. And I know there's a lot of people that say, oh, we don't eat soy, we don't have soy. Well, if you've ever eaten a meat pie from a bakery or a frozen pie from the supermarket, you've eaten TVP. Guaranteed you've eaten TVP. It is used commercially in so many foods to stretch the meat component. There you go. The big companies use it to stretch their meat. Now, there is a portion that has to be meat and the rest of it's filler. Most of the filler is usually TVP. So you can use TVP in rissoles. You can use it in stews and casseroles. You can use it to make a spag bowl sauce. Use it to make tacos or enchiladas, burritos, lasagna. Use it in pasta bake, in fritters. Add some to soups. It's really simple to use. It comes dried. Let me see if I can. Dare I do this? Well, that's what I've got in my container. But it comes dried. Now, to rehydrate it, you need, let me open my handy dandy drawer here and get a cup. a little bowl. There we go. 1 cup of TVP to 1 cup of boiling water or boiling stock or veggie water. I can't see, I'm going up. There we go. Where am I going? I'm going the opposite way. It's like little granules. My hands are clean. I just finished doing all the dishes. Little granules. See? Now I'm going the wrong way again. There you go. It's a dried product, so it is shelf stable. I love TVP. It is very, very versatile. It is very, very economical. 1 cup of dry TVP rehydrated in a cup of boiling water or stock or vegetable juice or vegetable water or tomato juice or whatever you've got is the equivalent of 500 grams of mince. So if you're swapping it out, and your recipe needs 1 kilo of mince, use 500 grams of mince, 500 grams of TVP. Now it does come in flavors. I only like the mince one. There is one that's chicken. Nah, I didn't like it. My lot wouldn't come at it. You might really love it, but I just stick to the one that's like mince. Now I buy it online, and I am not loyal, as you know. I look for the cheapest price. But you can get it at health food shops. Some supermarkets still have it in the health food aisle. Some don't anymore. Why they take things out that we buy, I don't know. But you can definitely get it online. If you type in TVP, it will come up. Now I buy it in 5 kilos at a time. Doesn't last as very long, but it's shelf stable and it will last almost indefinitely. Now Karen asked a question on Cheapskate's Chatter tonight about did she need to freeze it when she brings it into the house like we freeze our flour for weevils. Now I freeze everything. Any dry good that comes into the house, be it flour, oats, pasta, TVP, beans, lentils. And I know that beans and lentils, they say don't get weevils. I'm not convinced there's not bugs in there. I freeze everything. Goes into the freezer. Now, there's a thing going around, and I saw it last week, the week before, and it just made me shudder. They're saying in the freezer for 24 hours. No. 24 hours won't cut it, guys. 7 days, at least a week in the freezer. So what I do is I portion it out into the bag, vacuum seal it, then put it in the freezer. 2 things happen. If there's anything alive in it, I've sucked all the air out and it's not going to stay alive, is it? And then because it's vacuum sealed, it's airtight and liquid tight, it won't get any moisture from the freezer. So there you go. That's what I do. But please, 24 hours in the freezer is not long enough. You want those little critters to be dead. Now they're in there. They come in there, in the flour especially. And that's fine. It's just a fact of life. Sounds revolting, it's just a fact of life. You don't like it? Sift your flour. And I often wonder if in recipes, old recipes, I'll say sift flour 3 times. I often wonder if it's to catch all the bugs, the weevils and things that could be in the flour. I don't really know. Okay, next meal stretcher. You've probably been waiting for it. Lentils and beans. Now I use baked beans in my lasagna. There's a recipe on our website called refrigerator lasagna. It makes huge, 2 huge big dishes. I use baked beans in that because if I was to use all, the same quantity of meat, it would have cost a fortune. It would have cost a fortune when mince is $3.99 a kilo. So I use baked beans in my lasagna, and nobody knows. Well, they probably will now because they'll have seen this. But 1 tin of baked beans to 500 grams of mince, and I just open the tin and dump it in the bowl of the food processor, and I give it a whiz. I do the spurt thing and give it a whiz until the beans look like the mince crumbles. Then I just dump them back into the pot. Add the mince, brown it all up, add the tomato paste or the tomato sauce and everything else. Pasta sauce done. Now, the advantage of that is baked beans are full of nutrition. They are really good. They're full of fiber. They've got lots of really good things in them, and we should be eating more baked beans. The world needs more people to eat more baked beans. But if you can put them into a lasagna or a pasta bake, nobody knows. It saves you a fortune. A tin of baked beans is around 80 cents. 500 grams of mince is around $7. That's a big difference to the cost of your finished dish. If you think you've got a picky eater in the house and they are going to complain, don't let them watch you make it. That's all I can say. Or suggest that they pay for their own dinner. I've done that a few times. Now, ordinary beans, just kidney beans or black beans, anything like that, are fantastic meal stretchers. They can be mashed, they can be whizzed to crumbles, they can be used as is. Haystacks, one of our most popular recipes. Haystacks just seasoned beans on corn chips or tortilla chips or pita chips. But I think, lentils and beans, all the pulses, they're a wonderful source of protein. So if you're worried about the protein in your meal, add lentils, add beans. Chickpeas, I forgot chickpeas. Oh my goodness. You can make your own hummus. But chickpea curry, not only inexpensive, you love when I say inexpensive, because that's just a fancy term for downright cheap. Because it's downright cheap. Chickpea curry is downright cheap. It is so good. So good. No one will complain about not having any meat on the plate. They won't even know because it is so full of flavour. Really delicious and so healthful and so inexpensive. The last thing on my list of meal stretchers are vegetables. The sad veggies at the back of the fridge. The ones that, are crying out to be used. You open the door and they're going, pick me, pick me. The carrots, the celery, the zucchini, the little bit of pumpkin, the sweet potato. Veggies are cheap. Even today, with the rising prices that we have, veggies are cheap. Compared to meat or chicken or fish, veggies are cheap. And if you grow your own, well, then you know that they are very inexpensive. And on top of that, they're good for us, and they are readily available all year round. So if you buy in season, you'll pay a bit less. And I actually like eating in season because it means we never get bored of the fruits and vegetables that are available to us, because we have, tomatoes for summer, and then we don't get them in winter. I don't buy tomatoes in winter. I try not to buy tomatoes in winter because they're very expensive, but they're not in season. So then come summer, we're so grateful to get tomatoes or cucumbers again that we just love them. Now, if you're a mum, you've probably hidden veggies in meals to keep your picky eaters happy. We all do that. Sometimes you've got to pick your battles, and if you can hide the veggies in something, just do it. I have no problem with that. I've done it. So you'll know to grate them up nice and fine or chop them really, really finely so they just disappear into whatever you're making. Now, you can use just about any veggie to stretch a meal. Carrots, onions, zucchini, celery, broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, chopped up really, really fine, or grated. Silver beet, beetroots, grate beetroot and put it into a tomato-based dish. Colour changes a little, but not a lot. Parsnips and turnips and Swedes. Now, I'm growing parsnips and Swedes in my garden at the moment. They are going great guns. Possums haven't touched them, thank goodness. So every couple of days, I zip out and I pull a couple of Swedes and I pull a couple of parsnips and I bring them in. I wash them up and I don't even peel them. I just give them a good scrub. And then I chop them up and I put them into a baking dish and I drizzle them with olive oil and I sprinkle them with rosemary and a little bit of garlic. I crush some garlic over them and I roast them up. They are delicious. They are so good like that. I will eat a bowl of them just like that. They are really, really good. But best of all, Wayne and the boys are eating them and they don't. If I said to them it was parsnips and Swedes, they go, don't want that, don't put that on my plate. They're really enjoying them because they have flavour, a bit of flavour to them. So if that's what you've got to do to get your troops to eat those veggies, do it. That's a bit off topic, of course. Sorry. Mine's gone that way instead of this way. You can use potato or sweet potato because they can all be grated or really, really finely chopped and used to bulk out a recipe. Now, if you're using silver beet or English spinach or wombok or something like that, if you shred it really, really finely, it almost dissolves into the dish so that you don't get the strings of it, if that makes sense. It just seems to dissolve. And of course, you can use vegetables just about anywhere, in just about any recipe that you make, in soups, of course, stews, casseroles, meatloaf. Now, if you're making a soup or a stew or a casserole and you're using celery, don't forget to add the celery leaves. Don't waste them. Or the broccoli stalks, dare I mention that. Add them to meatloaf, add them to pasta sauces, to taco mix, to enchiladas, to burritos. Add them to shepherd's pie or cottage pie. Add veggies to your sausage rolls. If you are making sausage rolls, you've got 500 grams of your mincemeat. Add mashed potato. Add grated zucchini. And it will, if you add around 2.5 cups of mashed potato and a good cup and a half maybe, so really big zucchini, grated up nice and fine, to the sausage mince, you'll double the number of sausage rolls that you get without changing it too much. So it'll still taste great because you'll still add your onion and your herbs, and if you add sauce or whatever to it, but you'll have just stretched that meat a little bit more so that you'll get more sausage rolls for your 500 grams of mince. You can do the same thing for pasties. Add veggies to your pasties. Add extra veggies because a good Cornish pasty has veggies in it. So add extra veggies. Add extra veggies to your pasty. Mushrooms, eggplant, anything like that can be used to stretch a meat dish. What else have I got? I'm just trying to see what's on my notes. I've got notes here in front of me. Sweet turnip, parsnip, talked about those. Sweet potato. Whatever veggies are in the fridge looking sad and need to be used up, chop them all up finely or grate them all up finely. You can do it in one hit and then portion them out into bags and freeze it so that you've got them on hand when you want to stretch a meal or make soup. It's done for you. You know, they stretch your meal, but it means there's no waste in your veggie crisper. The limp veggies are used up. You've boosted the veggie intake without dishing up individual serves. And, you know, if you've got finicky, fussy eaters, that's a really good thing too. Mashed potato as a vegetable. if I've got a little bit of lamb or beef left, or last time we had lamb chops, I saved a couple of the chops. I dice it up, I add it to mashed potato, I add garlic, I add mixed herbs, I spread it in a sliced tin and I bake it. It's delicious. You can add mashed potato to a tin of tuna to make double the quantity of your fish cakes. Add extra mashed potato to make double the quantity of your fish cakes. You don't need to use a lot. Tuna and salmon are in short supply, apparently. I haven't looked lately because I've still got some on the shelf. But when you can do that, it doubles the number you get from the recipe, which means that you've got another meal for a lot less. Your grocery budget isn't suffering. Any of these meal stretches will help a little meat, a little chicken, a little fish go a long way without it looking stingy like our Kransky did last night. It did look sad on the plate. If you can learn to stretch a meal, it's a huge skill. It's one that we should all practice. Like, I think especially now, food costs are rising every week. When I only go to the supermarket once a week to check things out. Every week, the prices have gone up. It's scary. And now we've got other expenses going up too. It's even scarier. Alrighty, now let me see what I'm going to scoot up to the top. Oops, because there's a lot of comments, guys, and see what's Sue D says she's in regional Vic, not stormy. It is blowing a gale here. A couple of times today, I was sure our house was going to take off. The whole house shook. It was incredible, and it's still blowing. Absolutely no rain, but lots and lots of wind. I raced out before and I actually took the covers off the veggie garden and brought them in so that they wouldn't blow away. Okay. Yvonne, the helicopters were hovering to keep you awake. They do that here too to me. About 2 o'clock, guaranteed 2:10 a.m. There will be helicopters going zoom around, and I just want to go outside and scream at them some mornings. Okay. Evelyn says it's windy. Okay. Kerry said it's picking up. Well done, Krista, for being mortgage free. Okay. Thanks, Barb. The Wizard of Oz. I have to be Dorothy, not the Wicked Witch. All right. But your son's big like my boys, Joy. So they like to see full plates. I did wonder if I'd used smaller plates, if I'd got out like mine, well, they would have known something was up because my good dishes are smaller because I've got the entree plates. If I'd used the smaller plates, if it had looked, if it, had looked, would have looked so stingy. Bless him. Okay. Oh, there we go. Get well soon, Selena. Okay. Yeah. Krista says her mum lived through the Second World War in East Germany and she knew how to stretch a meal. I've been trying to do this for a couple of reasons. I want to know how to stretch the meal. Well, I've always stretched our meals, but I'm a bit concerned. In the back of my mind, I have this niggle that food as we know it is going to become very expensive and sometimes difficult to get. So we're already seeing stupid, crazy, stupid prices for all sorts of reasons. And there are reasons. Meat is a ridiculous price. Chicken has just gone sky high this last couple of weeks. Then, we had the thing with the lettuces, $11 for a lettuce. Well, Hannah, over the weekend, had to buy a lettuce and she paid $7 for it, and she made me laugh last night because when I was talking to her, she said she was having her dinner and she's having leftovers, and she was even eating the core of the lettuce because it cost her $7. And she did make me laugh. So I have this in the back of my mind, but I'm also concerned that, how to not sound like a raving, I just sound like a raving fruitcake anyway. I'm also concerned that we are living in turbulent times, and I've eased off on my reading because it was just, even to me, it was overwhelming. It was just like, oh no, oh no, oh no. It was just doom and gloom, doom and gloom, doom and gloom. So I've eased off on it. I'm still doing a lot of reading and a lot of research, but I've eased off quite a bit. But I just have this in the back of my mind that food is going to become very expensive, and food as we know it is going to become hard to get. In which case, we will need to become accustomed to living and working as we do on smaller meals, which means that the meals we prepare need to be more nutrient dense to get us through. So I've been playing around with what we're eating and how we're eating it. And I think I'm failing miserably. And then earlier this week, I was rewatching some of the World War II ration challenge things, and I didn't feel quite so bad because we're not quite that. I'm not quite, as extravagant as I could be. And then I watched some Utility Jude, and I've gone, oh my goodness, I'm so wasteful. We are eating too much. So it's a bit of an experiment for me, not just to save on money, but to make sure that what we have will last us until we can replace it, and to get my 3 hulking great men in the family to be able to live and work on less, because we all know that hard physical labor requires more energy, more calorie intake, more kilojoule intake. It's been an interesting process. I don't know that I'm going to document it so much, but it's certainly been interesting. So, oh, there you go. Joy's just found it for me. The 1940s experiment. Yeah. A ration challenge. It's, I'm pretty sure we would not survive. We would not survive on UK 1940s World War II rations. So I don't know how they did it. Well, they had victory gardens and things, and a lot of black market stuff. So I don't know. Okay. I I like porridge in the mornings in winter. I have porridge all year round, Estelle. All right. Pasta salads. Pasta salad is delicious. It is really, really good, and you don't need a lot of veggies and things in it to make it really tasty. Yeah. I got some from NQR too. That was last year, the year before. Can't remember. It was the pulse pastas. They I think I preferred them. They had a bit more. I mean, really, pasta's quite flavourless on its own. These ones weren't so bad. Um, uh, Kathleen uses lots of beans. I do too. Yes, Vicky, we are well. We are staying um, warm in the house if it doesn't blow away. Okay. If you've not tried TVP before, get a small, just get 200 grams, which is about 2 cups, and give it a try. Now, I usually, TVP on its own has no flavour. I find it quite bland, very flavourless. So when you rehydrate it, try to use stock, whether it's beef stock, chicken stock, vegetable stock, or tomato juice, or if you've saved the water from steaming veggies, that sort of thing, to give it a bit of flavour. The other thing that I do with it is I put just a teeny tiny, probably, I don't know, 5 cent, 10 cents, that looks like 10 cents, 10-cent piece of oil in the bottom of the pan and brush it around, and I tip it in and I brown it like I would be browning mince so that it develops a flavour. Otherwise, it becomes quite bland on its own, and it will pick up the flavour of the foods that you then add it to. So you'll add it to mince, and you might add garlic and onion and whatever else. It will pick up those flavours. But if you've not tried it before, small packet, just to make sure that you do like it, because otherwise you're going to be stuck with a lot and wonder what on earth to do with it. Depends where you buy it, Estelle, as to what it's called. I buy it. Last lot I bought was from Two Brothers Foods online. The last 2 lots have come from them. Shop around, look for it, shop around. Health food stores usually have it. Some of the bigger supermarkets might have it, but otherwise I buy it online and I look for the cheapest price. I am not store loyal, and I am not, brand loyal. These days I shop with my dollars. Vicky, if I've got freezer room, I just leave whatever I'm putting in there until I'm ready to move it to the pantry. But 7 days minimum, and then you can take it out, let it come to temperature, and put it in your pantry. But if I've got freezer room and I'm not in a hurry for whatever it is, it just stays in the freezer until I'm ready to use it. Freezing flour, freezing TVP, freezing pasta won't hurt it. Won't hurt it at all. Where to go? Good to know. Lentil shepherd's pie sounds delicious. vegan nachos or haystacks. Sorry to ask this here, but how do I change my email address associated with my Cheap Steps Club membership, please? On your membership profile, Barb. So when you log in, you've got your name at the top. If you click on your name, it'll bring down your profile and you can change it there. Otherwise, just let me know and I can do it for you. Yes, $1 avos at the moment. Someone was talking about them on ABC Radio last night. They were 20 cents. 20 cents an avocado. Shame I don't like it. You can freeze celery, Barb, but when you thaw it out, you need to put it into a soup or a stew or a tuna pasta bake or something like that. It's not good for salads. And yes, potatoes are good for stretching if you can afford them these days. I didn't know cauliflower leaves were edible. You'd have to get the young ones. I actually, with my cauliflowers, I have been tying the leaves. Once the heads start to form, I've been putting the leaves, tying the leaves over them just with some string. For vegetarian sausage rolls, Kathleen uses oats, walnuts, feta, and eggs. They sound delicious. Sausage, mince, onion. Joy's got a recipe for sausage rolls here if you want it. And shepherd's pie is made from lamb. Cottage pie is made from beef. But basically just lamb and gravy, beef and gravy with potato on top. Yeah. 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. But there are some purists that insist that you must call, if it's made with beef, it must be called cottage pie. In our house, it's all just shepherd's pie. Chicken soup. It's really easy. You use carrots, onions, celery diced up. I use a half a chicken fillet and I toss it in the pot with the veggies. Then if you've got chicken stock in the freezer, add chicken stock. Otherwise, you'll be using powder, stock powder or stock cube with water to bring it up to cover it. Let it cook. Then you just shred the chicken with your fork or 2 forks. You can add a little bit of macaroni to it, which is really nice. We like it with macaroni in it and we like it with rice in it. That's so simple and easy. You know, there's a good chicken soup, Grandma's Chicken Soup, I think it's called, on our website. Yeah, I wouldn't use baking paper that's been used for savoury things for sweets. I just use my dishcloth, wet the dishcloth and wipe it over, and then I just peg it up to dry or sit it on the bench to dry. Hang it up. I've got a clip over there that'll hang it up to dry. They would have been interesting brownies. What a shame. Yeah, Trina, they said on the news that this won't be as bad as last winter, but I have to say our house is shaking more. Like the house is shaking. It's big gusts just hit it. It's really weird. So anyone in the Dandenongs, I bet they're reliving those storms. Thanks, Barb. There we go. Walnuts and mushrooms whizzed up in the processor are good minced pretenders. Yes, I use a lot of mushrooms, but they have been so expensive. $10 a kilo is too much for mushrooms for me. I do have dried mushrooms. Who was I talking to with walnut? I think I was talking to Delaney last week, during the week, about walnuts. I have a really nice walnut patty recipe that's just delicious. Okie dokie. All right, sorry guys, there's so much to go through. Goodness, you've all been prolific chatterers tonight. You know what, Lisa? Lisa says she wouldn't and can't kill or cook rabbit. We haven't been hungry. And I'm not being flippant, and I'm not being disrespectful or anything else, because I feel a bit the same way. I don't know. I don't think I could do it. But then I haven't been that hungry. That's all I've had to eat, and if I was going to eat, that's what I'd have to do. So I can say that I wouldn't. I'd cook it. Cooking it's not the issue. Where I didn't feel the same way about, when we were going to butcher a cow or a sheep, I didn't feel the same way about that. That didn't worry me. I don't know. Maybe it's because we keep thinking it's soft, cute little bunny. I don't know. But we have not been that hungry. We haven't been that hungry that we would do that. I know friends of my parents grew up in Hungary during the war, during the Second World War, and then they finally were able to get to Australia in 1957, 1958. And this lady would talk about making dirt soup. And she would put dirt in the soup to colour it, because otherwise it was just hot water. So we haven't been that hungry. We don't really know what it's like to be that hungry. So I'm sort of with you, but I don't know. Joy, this is the World War Two rations. Okay with tea, sugar, jam, but needed more butter, eggs, and cheese. See, we eat too well. We really do. Even on our budgets, on our frugal living, we eat very, very well compared to so many. Yeah, Krista, when people are really hungry, they'll eat almost anything. Trina's drawing the line at bugs. You know what? We've probably eaten those too. They'll be in things that we didn't even think about. Okay. Buying it is one thing, knowing how to store it is another thing. Yes. If you talk about TVP, it's shelf stable. It's dry, so it will go on your shelf. Airtight. It's pretty much a forever food. So I'm not sure whether I've got it on the forever foods list or not. I might have left it off. Because every time I add it to the forever foods, someone will complain. But if you just buy the plain, unflavoured brown TVP, it will last indefinitely. if you keep it dry. Keep it airtight, moisture proof, like a pasta will. So, but yeah, put it in the. I don't know that it's absolutely strictly necessary to freeze it for bugs and things, but I do. You don't have to do what I do, but okay. There's only so many freezers a house can handle, Beverly, which is why I'm looking at alternatives to freezing. Well done, Jane. It's not too bad. I usually pay, if I'm buying 5 kilos, I think it's about, hang on, let me just check for you. I can tell you how much it is. Just give me a moment to see. I'll look it up for you. $2.50 doesn't sound too bad, considering that's what we get. 500 grams for $3.20. 5 kilos was $25.95. So 500 grams is, it's not a bad price. But you consider that that's the equivalent of 250 grams of mince, which is at the moment about, if you're just buying the cheap mince, it's about $3.50. So it's a bit cheaper. Delaney makes soup with cauliflower leaves. Yum. Oh. All right. Okay, sorry, my back's cramping up on me. Oh dear. Alrighty, now we're nearly at the end. Oops. Yeah, I agree, Yvonne. We do eat far too much. Just in servings. That's why I hammer on about portion control and watching serving sizes, because it's really important. And we're going to find that out. I'm pretty sure we're going to find that out. And it's going to come as a real shock to a lot of people. There's that old joke about rabbit, Estelle. It tastes just like chicken. And indeed, it used to be called poor man's chicken. When chicken was an expensive item in Australia, and beef and lamb were cheap and chicken was expensive, so a roast chicken was very expensive, rabbit would often take the place of chicken, because it pretty much is bland like chicken, I guess. Oh, yeah. But you can't even cook chicken. Okay, Lisa. I remember when I was pregnant, I used to make Wayne go. He moves the barbecue right to the very, very back fence, and he would have to cook down there. I'd be in the house with all the doors and windows shut, and he'd be down there barbecuing. I could not stand the smell of cooking meat. Okay. I grew up. We had a lot of offal. Yeah. See, I'm not a fan of offal either. But it's very expensive now and considered gourmet, so I'm not going to pay the price. All right, okay. Okie dokie. All right, guys. Yeah, Glennis got the right idea. She serves all her dinner on entree plates. Dinner sets don't come with entree plates anymore. It's just she's got those whopping great big huge things. So it does make a difference because you look at it and you think, oh, there's not enough food on that plate, and so you put more on, which means you've automatically increased the amount they're eating, and it's just bizarre. Okay, all right. It is past 8:30, and we went way over last week. So I'll say that's it for tonight. If you liked our show, please, please, please give us a thumbs up. Yeah, that would be wonderful and very, very much appreciated. I read every comment and I do my best to answer your questions. So don't be afraid to leave a comment because I will see it either in the comments underneath me or in live chat before we finish. If you know someone who might like this show or who might benefit from knowing about Cheapskates Club, please use the share link to send them this video. We don't harass them in any way. That's all they get is a link to this video, and it's entirely up to them if they choose to click it. And if you are not already a subscriber, why not? Come on, guys. We'd love to have you as a regular viewer. And the easiest way to do that is to click that subscribe button, and we'll notify you every time we go live or update with a new video. I've also put, if you click on the community tab, I've put a poll up there. I'm doing some planning. So I've asked a couple of questions. And if you could take a moment to pop over and let me know your answer, that would be wonderful too. So thank you for watching. Hannah and I both appreciate you taking the time to come and visit with us. Have a great week, everyone, and happy cheapskating. I'll see you next week, same time.